Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another episode of Scientology's Tom Cruise Spy Files. In the last episode, we covered a document that was from 2004. Now, for those of you who are new to the channel, we've got over 40,000 pages of internal Scientology documents. And these documents span a period from about 2003 to 2004 to 2007 or 2007-ish. And these latest documents that we're going through are all about Tom Cruise and media handlings that Scientology are trying to do in relation to articles or interviews that are being done where Tom Cruise is either mentioned or Scientology is mentioned. In this document, we've got a whole bunch of key players, and just like we did in the last one, we're going to bring those guys up. So let's bring that up right here. Scientology's Tom Cruise Spy Files key players. Of course, you've got David Miscavige, chairman of the board Religious Technology Center, and he's right there in the middle. And then in this document, we've got Oprah Winfrey, who is a TV host. We've got Tom Cruise. We've also got John Travolta has been added to the mix in this one. And then we've got Kevin Huvane. He is, I think he was, he's the co-chair of Creative Artist Agency. And he is also, for a while, I think he was actually Tom Cruise's agent directly for a while. And we've got Shelly Miscavige, and she is the chairman of the board assistant. We've got Ellen. I'm not going to pretend to know how to say her last name, but it's Recount, Ellen, TV producer. She's just mentioned as Ellen in the documents because I don't think anybody knew how to spell her name in these documents. Then you've got Mike Rinder, who at this time was the Watchdog Committee member for OSA. That's an international management position that's at the end of the day is the interface between chairman of the board and OSA, because Mike's not going to tell OSA to do stuff without David Miscavige telling him to tell OSA to do stuff. Then we've got Leanne Maypother, which is Tom Cruise's sister, and at the time was his public relations agent or public relations person. Then we've got Rick Nacita, who is an agent at CAA, and he was Tom Cruise's agent. So at this time, I think he was probably directly Tom Cruise's agent. And then Kevin was being the chair of CAA. And also Kevin is Oprah's agent. He's a lot of famous people, a lot of famous actor and actresses. Kevin Huvane is their agent. And these CAA guys and all these celebrities, they're thick as thieves. If something's going to go sideways, the agent is the one, or the agency that manages these guys is the ones who can kind of pull strings, because they represent all of the different individuals or many of the individuals involved in these documents. And then we've got Brooke Shields, who's also an actress. And this, the reason that these guys are all involved in this is because Brooke Shields and Oprah had arranged to do an interview, and then Tom Cruise went and did an interview with Matt Lauer where he talked about Brooke Shields and her use of drugs after she had her child. And that's how this is all being stirred up. So without any further ado, let's get into the next document here. And I'm going to pull it up here, and here we go. So this document doesn't have any kind of routing or anything. It's just being sent, probably because David Miscavige asked, hey, there's a show being done by Oprah, and there might be some mention of Tom Cruise. You better check it out. So this is how they did that. This document's from 16 September 2005, and it has a CC to COCMO int. Oh, and that was Kurt Wieland at the time. And we showed a picture of him in the last document. Dear Sir, it says Oprah update FYI for your information. Dear Sir, John spoke to Oprah's producer, Ellen, again. There have been delays on the comm cycles due to Katrina, both with John and Kevin Huvane, as covered below. I searched all of the files to find out who this Katrina girl was. Evidently, it was the name of a large hurricane at the time, and that is who Katrina is in this document. So that's why I didn't include a picture of her in the cover. Ellen said that both she and Oprah had reviewed the show and that there is nothing to worry about. And Oprah asked me to specifically let you know this. Now, John in this conversation, that's John Travolta. So they want to talk to Oprah about the show, but Scientology doesn't want to talk to her. They want to send John, who they know is friends with Oprah, to then talk to Oprah. So John is John Travolta, who spoke with the producer and Oprah about the show, and they both said there's nothing to worry about. She said, there's nothing to worry about, and Oprah asked me to specifically let you know this. So that was Oprah letting John know that. She said that the interview with Brooke Shields is 13 minutes long and that she speaks on the subject of postpartum depression for 1.5 minutes. She said that the only thing that comes up is that Oprah says Tom is very impassioned about the overdrugging of children in America, and that Shields responds by telling Oprah it was never her intention to be the person that promotes the drugs. She was just trying to say that it helped her. That the message of her statement is that it worked for her, but may not work for everyone else. So for those of you who didn't see this interview, Tom did an interview with Matt Lauer where he is just all fired up about psychiatric drugs. And that whole entire, all the facts that he's spewing in that, he got those from a CCHR spokeshole who just sent him all these little tidbits of all these statistics about drugs. And that's where Tom Cruise is getting all of his information from. He's just getting it spoon-fed to him by Scientology. Okay, let's continue with the document. John brought up the media articles and that this is not what they said. Ellen said they can't control what other people write, that it is definitely not an attack on Tom, and that I am not worried about it, and neither is Oprah. Okay, so essentially, Dave Miscavige thinks that this Oprah interview with Brooke Shields is going to have blowback on Tom and Scientology, and they don't trust Oprah to handle it, and they're trying to exert any pressure they can on her to get her to make sure that this show doesn't trash Tom or Scientology. Okay, continuing on. John said that he felt like there wasn't anything he could do, and that his sense is that they either edited the show after he spoke to them or that it was not an issue to begin with, and that they are being very assertive about how it isn't a problem. He said that if it turns out to be otherwise, we will find out how hardcore Oprah is, and she is going to lose at least 3 friends. So I'm assuming that's Kelly, Preston, John Travolta, and Tom Cruise. I don't know who those 3 friends are. Leanne briefed Kevin Huvane. Again, Kevin Huvane is the co-chair of CAA. And I'm pretty sure if there's anything dastardly going on with any of the actors that are represented by CAA, Kevin Huvane will be involved in some regard, trying to put fires out or suppress the truth or whatever it needs to be done to make sure that his stable of talent doesn't get adversely affected. Leanne briefed Kevin Huvane, who represents Oprah. He was pissed off about the report in the media. It took him a while to get through to her, and he reported back to Leanne that he was told by Ellen, who he says is totally straight and brutally honest and would not mislead him, that there was nothing to worry about, that there is absolutely no way Oprah would cause any trouble for Tom Cruise, that she quote unquote, considers him one of her most valued friends, unquote, and that the only reason they had done this show was that it had been planned way in advance when Brooke Shields was doing Chicago on the stage in London before the drugging issue ever came up. Ellen asserted there is no way Oprah would do anything that would create a situation between her and Tom Cruise. Huvane said he asked her very candidly whether there was any problem at all between Oprah and Tom, because he had a hard time getting hold of them. And she assured him that there was absolutely nothing. He said that she had been extremely apologetic about missing his calls. Okay, so first they try to send John Travolta to talk to Oprah. Oprah says there's her producer and Oprah say there's no issue. There's nothing about this show that's anything bad. They talk to the producer, they talk to Oprah, and then they don't really get any action or get any satisfaction. So then Leanne, who is Tom Cruise's sister and PR person, then briefs Kevin Huvane, and then Kevin Huvane talks to Oprah, and he says that there's nothing wrong and that there's no reason to be worried. And then we go to the second page. Huvane doesn't think there is a problem with the show. His data matches what John was told and his sense of it. CAA seeing if they can get any other line to see the show beforehand and confirm what it contains. That's the other thing. Nobody knows what's in the show. Just Oprah and I guess the producer, Ellen, the producer of the Oprah show, are the only ones who know what's in this show. Also, for your info, CAA have gotten far more active on dealing with the media. Rick Nisita has been all over the lines since Leanne flew back from Toronto with Paula. I'm assuming that's Paula Wagner. That was Tom Cruise's producing partner at the time. Rick Nisita has been all over the line since Leanne flew back from Toronto with Paula and him and laid out what was going on. As a result, the head of the TV department of CAA, who knows the head of NBC, Zucker, very well, is to see him over the weekend. Zucker is coming for the Emmys. And then we'll see him over the weekend to get Dateline under control. Oh yeah, there's a whole nother email chain going back and forth with Dateline NBC while all of this is happening as well. The head of CAA publicity department is now on to the LA Times in coordination with Paramount. Okay, so now that's another thing. There's a whole other chain going back and forth about Dateline and LA Times, and I want to say South Park and Paramount. These things are all happening at the same time, and these are all about to converge into one document after this response to David Miscavige, I'm pretty sure. So rather than just Leanne dealing with these requests that they have come in to do stories, they are now putting themselves directly on the lines to use the comm lines and influence they have. This is okay. Much love, Mike. Okay, so now we're going to go right in to the next document, which is right after this one, where they have a whole bunch more nonsense that they're going to cover. So it looks like that other document from the 16th of September, it went up to David Miscavige, and then David Miscavige answered to Mike Rinder, who was WDC OSA at the time. And now this is turned into an official document that's now going to go back and forth. Another thing that you've got to know is that if David Miscavige says, hey, I want you to update me on this Oprah thing, that's an order from David Miscavige to a lower Sea Org member. So nothing can happen until David Miscavige, that order is complied to, and he gets a response. And the responses are usually need to happen within a day. If it's a quick thing, it needs to happen within a day. And then if he's asking him to do a bunch of things, it could either be a day to 2 days before he hears something back. So he said that on the 16th. Mike had already written a response back a few days earlier, and then I think it got intercepted, and then he had to do a bunch of stuff, correct himself to be able to answer that document. And you're gonna see that in here. And also one of the things that has to happen is if you write something to David Miscavige, and then when you send him that, he points out all of the shortcomings of yourself in the response to you, you have to acknowledge those shortcomings and give some sort of update on what you're doing to sort that out separately than the thing he asked you to do. So that's just a little backstory to how this is going to go here. Okay, so let's bring up the next document. It says COBRTC, Chairman of the Board, Religious Technology Center, David Miscavige. And then it's going to go again, we're back to the acting temporary CMO Int, which is the commanding officer of the CMO, the Commodore's Messenger Organization International, which is at the international headquarters in Gilman Hot Springs, California. And it's coming from acting temporary WDC, the Watchdog Committee member for OSA. And that's Mike Render. And this is 21 September 2005. And there's carbon copies to COB Assistant, COB Com, and then the DCO Internal CMO Int. That's just an internal post. Usually the person making sure that when somebody messes up, they get corrected. Media handlings. Dear Sir, you responded to the update, quote unquote, report I sent concerning Oprah, correctly noting this was total dev T. That means developed traffic. It just means something that makes more work without getting anything done. It's a weird Scientology word that it doesn't have an equal. It just means nonsense. It's like, it just really means nonsense. Correctly noting that this was total dev T and didn't address and handle the real situation, which is major. I had noted in the report that Leanne was, quote, getting CAA busy, unquote, and other inane statements. I have confronted the data on this scene and worked out a real handling that follows CSW form. That means completed staff work. If you send any proposal within Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard said that you have to submit what's called completed staff work. And it's just a form of presenting information so that it is supposedly easier for the executive to identify the situation, see what the data is in about that situation, and what the solution is to handle the situation. And so David Miscavige said that this should be a CSW and not just a note. So now it's a CSW. Okay. I have confronted the data on this scene. This is also, the language is so amazing. I have confronted the data on this scene and worked out a real handling that follows in CSW form. This is where he's accepting, yes, I did this wrong, and this is all the things that I'm doing to correct it so that you can now review my document. I was treating this cycle by cycle, which then means an endless stream of proposals and reports on individual media in total violation of policy. I got crammed and really straightened my think out on this and then analyzed the data on how to deal with it. Crammed is just when you get some sort of correction in Scientology and you learn the true information about that subject and how to deal with problems or solutions and move forward. In Scientology, whenever you flunk a test or any kind of exam that you do on a Scientology course, you are sent to what's called cramming to then, bone up on what you missed and then retake your exam or whatever it is that you needed to do. Situation. So here's the CSW. So situation is the first part of a CSW. Situation. Media cycles are rolling forward and the lines and terminals that should be handling it are not wearing their hats, and I want to get directly on the lines with them to make this happen. Data. There have been many media cycles that cross over into the church that have grown out of the massive dissemination that has been done by Mr. Cruise. Also, all the flaps that Tom Cruise is creating by saying crazy stuff and jumping on couches and picking apart mothers that chose to handle their postpartum depression in whatever way they handled it. There are power comm lines that could be, a communication line is just somebody who can communicate from a place to other people. That's what a comm line is. There are power comm lines that can be used to control these media and who have a vested interest in doing so, CAA and Paramount, and yet they have not been forced to do so. Second page. Leanne, when she has contacted CAA and Paramount to get them busy, has not gotten them to do their job. They are not initiating handlings themselves and are slow to act and try to downplay media cycles. Leanne is operating at effect of CAA and Paramount as opposed to operating at cause. At this time, Leanne was being Tom Cruise's PR, and arguably it was one of the worst public relation periods of his career because he was talking so much Scientology nonsense that there was little that she was going to do that was going to counteract that. Leanne is operating at effect of CAA and Paramount. She said she is not sure how to handle Kevin and Rick when they present problems to her. Kevin is Kevin Huvane, the co-chair of CAA, Creative Artists Agency, and Rick is Rick DeCita, the Tom Cruise's agent at CAA at the time. She had blown from the PTSSP course. That is when you take an unauthorized leave from Scientology, or something you're doing in Scientology is considered a blow, and those who do so have blown. She had blown from the PTSSP course. That means Potential Trouble Source Suppressive Person course. That's where you learn how to disconnect from SPs and how to not be a potential trouble source, which is someone who's connected to a suppressive person or an SP. She had blown from the PTSSP course, and Jessica Rodriguez, that was Tommy Davis's wife, is getting her through conditions and back onto the course. So because she had stopped going to course, you have to do what's called the conditions, the condition formulas, and that is to raise you back up in your condition so that you can rejoin the group of Scientology, or in this case, get back on the course you were supposed to be doing that you stopped doing. So it sounds like Leanne's going to take some heat in this document because they're basically throwing all the shade on Leanne at this point. Okay, she is blown from the PTSSP course, and Jessica Rodriguez is getting her through her conditions and back onto the course. She has had a huge amount of power at her disposal to direct people who are living off Mr. Cruise's production. CAA and Paramount are not being forced to confront who they work for and to understand that if he doesn't want a show to air, it is their job to handle it, not try and convince him it is okay. So this is on the backs of the South Park episode where they took shots at Tom Cruise and Scientology, and then Paramount were like, hey, dude, that's over there. It's a show. It's a comedy show. Get over it. And that's not acceptable to Scientology. They want the show off the air, and they wouldn't do that. And now that's coming up in these documents inside Scientology. I have only done things from the side trying to get Leanne to get CAA and Paramount to work. I now realize how off policy and ineffective this is, as I am using a broken line. She is backed off from them. I should handle them myself directly and forcefully. By doing so, I will get the most powerful and effective lines to deal with the media activated. I want to meet with CAA and Paramount and get them activated for real and establish a line with them to handle media. I can say many things from my position Mr. Cruise should not have to tell them, and neither should you. This is an overall handling for the major media cycles. He is the biggest disseminator in history, and SPs are using the media to attack him. Scientology and you as a reciprocal. The line, Leanne, to get them to do their jobs and wear their hats is PTS and backed off from them and isn't handling it. Okay, so that was the situation. There's media cycles that are rolling forward. They're not getting dealt with. The data is essentially that Leanne has been handling this and not so well. And that she doesn't want to handle it, or she's backed off, which means she's not comfortable with telling them what to do. And Scientology thinks that they work for Tom, That might be the case for CAA. I'm not sure that's exactly the case for Paramount. I think who writes the checks is who is the boss. And I'm pretty sure Tom Cruise is writing checks to CAA and Paramount is writing checks to Tom Cruise. So I don't know. Maybe that's the other way around and I'm just oblivious to it. Obviously, Tom Cruise is an actor and he's also a producer that makes movies for Paramount. Solution. I meet with Kevin Huvane and Rick Nacita and get them on board on handling the media and Tom Cruise's PR and thus Scientology PR. This is all being paid for by your tax dollars, by the way. Everything that we're doing and covering here is all being paid for by United States taxpayers. Scientology is a non-profit organization, and they're meeting with CAA and agents and other actors, trying to get them to work on handling Scientology's public relations. 1. I first call and brief Burt Fields and elicit his cooperation. He has a better sense of protecting the well-being of his client and is far less inclined to just blow things off as a quote-unquote no situation. I will cover that he said no sit. I filled it out there. Sorry. I will cover the fact that I have now been involved in a number of these matters and that it obviously causes distraction for the church. But also as a friend of Tom. It is unacceptable to see the media trying to savage him while the people who should be handling it and who are living off his success are not doing their jobs. This will not target him, but he will also get the message that he should be doing more. That I intend to see CAA and go over this with them, and that I would like him to be there. Get him fully on board, or if he seems at all unwilling or backed off, then tell him it's no problem. I will see them myself. Okay, so Mike's going to go meet with Burt Fields and get him on board as well. Okay, next page. Get a meeting set up with Kevin Huvane and Rick Nacita. Leanne can set up the meeting and be present, though she doesn't talk. As above, I will brief Burt Fields and he will attend the meeting. I will see him in person beforehand to ensure we are all in full coordination. Cover the following. A. There has been a lot of press in the last year on Tom Cruise and Scientology. We have to deal with it from the church, and so we have a vested interest in being in coordination with them so that these matters are effectively handled. B. I am a friend of Tom's, and I don't like seeing him be savaged in the press. That is his well-being, and therefore his ability to create is affected when this crap doesn't get handled, and it is not good for them. It is in their best interest that he does well and he is happy so he can make movies that can make them and a lot of other people a lot of money. C. That they have the lines to deal with these situations and should be doing so, and that it's not just a matter of whether they think a radar or a Dateline are unimportant because nobody reads or watches them. They are important because they spread to other media, and it's part of their job to protect the reputation of their client. I will not say he only wants publicity on the movies, not all the other things that have come up, and that he is willing to do no publicity in order to avoid that problem, to which they will go into a panic to get him to do it. D. Go through each of the specific ongoing matters and get a real handling for it. Oprah. Huvane to speak to Oprah himself and not rely on her producer. He needs to totally duplicate that if this is brought up again on Oprah, even if she thinks it sounds innocuous, it is going to start the controversy all over again, and that is not acceptable. And if she doesn't want to do anything to upset her friend, then she had better ensure there is no mention of this subject in the show at all. Dateline. Get a solution. Matt Lauer called and said he could cancel Dateline if he can get an interview on MI3 and nothing else in early November. If they don't want to pursue this solution, then they need to come up with something else. LA Times. They need to work together with Paramount and get this story killed. They have lines to the top of the org board at the LA Times, and they can come up with a better story for them. Okay, wow. So this is now so that you see these three different things that are going on in the media have now all converged into this one document. There were separate Dateline documents, there were separate LA Times documents, and now and a separate Oprah document, and they're all coming into this one thing. And they want all these Tom Cruise stories killed, period. And they want Paramount and CAA and Matt Lauer to do all the canceling for them. Okay, next page. Page number 4. E, establish a line so I can deal with them directly on anything that comes up in the future. 3, repeat the above with the head of the PR at Paramount. 4, separately, brief Bert on the data we have collected up so far on the sources of attacks, being a small group. Several connect up at Radar with Kim Masters, and Masters connects to the head of PR for DreamWorks, Terry Press, and the woman who wrote the Straitjacket article in the New York Magazine and the New York Post, with David Geffen showing up on many lines. See what other data he can add to the equation to get to the bottom of the attacks. If he doesn't think there is a problem, brief CAA and Paramount and see what data they have to add. 5, I have done an eval on OSA. That just means an evaluation. It's a thing in Scientology where if there is a problem or there's a thing that's going on that nobody can figure out, you're supposed to evaluate the entire situation and come up for a why and a handling. And it sounds like he's done that. And we could probably cover that in a separate spy file because I've seen this evaluation that was done on OSA. 5, I've done an eval on OSA int, and I have them working on rounding up PRs and beefing up the PR lines, public relation lines, and doing editorial board meetings and activating the power comm lines again. I will also evaluate PR as there are also handlings needed so we can get our own control of media lines. This is a long one. 6, get Leanne through the PTS-SP course and ethics and correction in coordination with Jessica Rodriguez at CC. So you have all of these people that they're dealing with, and then Leanne, instead of being used as simply a solution, she's now part of the problem, and she has to get corrected and sorted out by the Celebrity Center in order for her to be reintegrated back into this system as a valuable asset. 7, complete the other media handling cycles that are IP in progress. Rolling Stone, I have been in contact with several times, and I am waiting for a call back from Jim Kaminsky in order to schedule his trip to LA for some time after the IAS event. Barbara Walters is going to email when she returns from Saudi Arabia next week concerning the scheduling of her trip. She said she had listened to the story of Dianetics and Scientology and found Ron Hubbard so interesting, charming, amusing, and informative. And she wants to learn more and wants to be audited. These will be fully CSW'd. I have the outlines worked out on what to do with both once I have the scheduling nailed down. This is okay. Much love, Mike. And then at the bottom of a CSW, you have to have an okay and a line and a not okay and a line for the person that you're sending this to sign it or to check it or whatever. And that is that's a CSW. I don't know if we've covered CSWs in the spy files before, but there you go. So there's another document that I'll do right after this as a separate video because this one's now getting a little bit long. But you can see Scientology, CAA, Paramount, these guys are all in this together. And CAA is a clearinghouse for nonsense. If there is any sort of assaults or anything that takes place with their people put those fires out. Scientology is now like, hey, we want you to just put out any fires, not only the really horrible ones that your people are up to, but even these ones where just somebody says something bad about Tom Cruise. We want you to spike all those stories as well. And Scientology doesn't have any problem asking him to do that because they know that's what they do. That's how this whole system works. It's a club. If you're in the club and somebody says something about you, you get all the people in your club to say either that didn't happen or we're not going to cover that it happened so nobody finds out about it. And I mean, some of these people have left, like Rick Nacita. It doesn't work at CNN anymore. I'm pretty sure Kevin Huvane is still the head of CAA, and this is not the only thing that these guys have covered up. You just search that dude's name. I guarantee you, there's some other nonsense these guys are connected to that they tried to put out at one point. So. Thank you for watching another edition of the Scientology's Tom Cruise Spy Files. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps the channel. It helps us bring more videos out to you guys. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Until next time.